Good people, good people, good people. Welcome back to the Gumtown Podcast, episode 222. I'm Doug B. If you tuned in to this podcast, thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate you giving it a shot. Today's guest is the founder and executive director of the STAAR program. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I'm sure we'll all be inspired by her story. Let's chop it up with Stacy Varner. Stacy, how's it going?
It's going just great.
Glad to hear that. First things first, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to speak with me a few minutes. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Doug, for having me. I appreciate you allowing me to come and speak about us.
Yes, ma'am. Of course, we're to talk about all the great things you got going on with the STAR program. But before we go there and talk about all the great things you got going with that organization, let's get to know the woman behind it all. Born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. How was your upbringing in Cleveland?
Ah, man, born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio was awesome. I am one of two daughters of Ernestine and Willie Bryant, single mom. She held it down. She did her thing. My mother actually was an entrepreneur. When we were growing up, she had her own catering business, and she showed us how to work, how to have that work ethic to push and reach for those things that you really want to do.
That's awesome. Much respect to mom for starting her own catering business. And like you said, just instilling those hard work, dedication, determination, and just giving you all those essential life lessons and tools.
Most definitely.
Okay, sounds good. So when exactly, so I know you grew up in Cleveland, so I'm assuming you did all your schooling all the way up through high school?
I did. So I did all of my schooling, as you mentioned, through high school in Cleveland. I graduated, telling my age, in 1990 from Villa Angela Academy, which is now Villa Angela St. Joe's out of Cleveland. And I received a music scholarship because I'm a singer to the Alabama State University.
Okay, now, hey, so that okay, that's what I'm talking about. So you got a scholarship, music scholarship to the
Yes,
greatest HBCU in the land, the
correct.
Alabama State
The
University.
That's right. That's right.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
Alabama State. So I started my journey, my academic journey in college here at Alabama State University, but I finished at AUM.
Okay, awesome stuff. So when you arrived in Montgomery, coming from the Midwest, Cleveland, Ohio, did you experience any culture shock?
Heck yeah. Most definitely,
Tell me
most
about it.
definitely was culture shock. Definitely. I mean, well, as I stated, I went to Villa Angela, which was an all girls Catholic high school, to come down to co-ed HBCU. And I'm like, Jesus, be offense. I wasn't ready. The roaches were bigger than me.
Wow.
But it was an awesome experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I met some of my best friends. I became a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Delta Omicron Music Fraternity. So I did all the things at Alabama State University once I arrived.
Yes, ma'am. That's awesome stuff, and definitely appreciate you for sharing just that culture shock coming down from the Midwest to the Southeast, and I mean just getting a chance to attend the Alabama State University, finished up at AUM. So it sounds like just based on what you just said about Alabama State, you enjoyed the HBCU experience.
Most definitely. I did love the HBCU experience. Um, it gave me a sense of culture that I don't think that I experienced in high school. But what I didn't like about the HBCU experience was what most people didn't like about the HBCU experience in the 90s, the standing in lines, the financial aid being denied for what when all they have to do is push a button. So although I loved being around us and doing the things that we do once we go to college, I didn't like the politics, the lines and the frustrations of, well, what do you mean I don't get the Pell Grant this time? What do you mean my financial aid didn't come through? I got to go back and stand in the line again. What do you mean you're going on lunch when I've been in line for 4 hours and I'm the second to get to the window? Those things like that. But the school itself was awesome.
Yes, ma'am. And I definitely understand where you're coming from with that. When I attended 2006 to 2010, some of those same problems still existed, still having to go wait in line and get financial aid situated. I mean,
Hmm.
but hopefully with the evolution of technology, hopefully they've gotten that process better, hopefully.
You know what I learned once I transferred to AUM, I was expecting to stand in the lines, and they just pushed the button, and I was like, wait a minute now, how can they push a button over here, but I have to stand in a line over there? So it was interesting to see the difference.
Yes, ma'am. And aside from just the better financial aid, the better processes at AUM. So when you made that transition from Alabama State to AUM, so was it a tough transition to go from HBCU to PWI? Like, how was that transition for you?
The transition from HBCU to PWI was not a tough transition. One thing I can say about the HBCU is that the professors there demanded the respect. They commanded and demanded the respect. So coming from the North, we didn't say a lot of, yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, but I got it straight quick, very quick when I came down here. I don't even remember the professor that I had, and she was like, yes, ma'am. I was like, oh, okay, I got it. But the transition wasn't hard because I already knew how to study. I already knew how to focus. I hit a hiccup in the beginning because there were some things that I wasn't accustomed to, but it wasn't a difficult transition.
Okay, awesome stuff. And yeah, you spot on as it relates to those HBCU professors.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
hey, ain't no such thing as yeah, no, it's yes, ma'am, yes,
Mm-mm.
sir, and they
That's it.
demanded their respect.
They did. And I gave it to them.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. That's good stuff. You got a chance to become a Zeta and join
Yeah.
the music organization. So yeah, that's hey, that's what it's all about. Just making the most of the
Hmm.
college experience and
Hmm.
you know, partying, having a good time, and walking across the
Hmm.
stage when it's all said and done.
Yeah, Alabama State won my heart. My mom brought me down um, to visit Clark Atlanta, Kentucky State University, and Alabama State. We went on like a college tour my 12th grade year. And when I arrived at Alabama State, I just fell in love with it. I was just like, oh man, this is beautiful. And the campus now is even more beautiful than it was in 1990. So they won hands down.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. That's powerful stuff. So let's talk about what we're here to talk about, the STAR program. What you got going on
Okay.
with that organization?
Oh man, the STAR program is amazing. So, what you didn't know is that what I didn't say is that I'm a special education teacher by trade. I recently retired, which would have been in December of 2024, so that I could do the STAR program full time. And we are a grassroots nonprofit organization located here in Montgomery and the surrounding areas. We work with individuals between the ages of 14 to 30 to help them transition into life after high school. Those kids with autism, intellectual disabilities, Prader-Willi syndrome, specific learning disabilities, all the things. We want to help them be more productive. We want to help them be able to become, a part of society that's able to be independent or semi-independent.
I think that's so awesome. Just like you just said, like helping the next generation of young adults with disabilities, just helping them transition after high school into the world, teaching them those skills, those crucial life skills, as the website
Yes,
says. And I think that's absolutely amazing. And I definitely give you flowers for even stepping into this space and helping out those young adults with those disabilities. That's amazing stuff.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So, what exactly? So, I know you said you were a special education teacher by trade. So,
Yes,
what was it that inspired you to want to go into special education? Because that's a very niche
it is.
market within education. Like, what inspired you to want to go into that space?
It is. So, when I was in high school, my aunt, and I didn't know this until later on, my aunt was a paraprofessional, which is a person who works in the classroom with individuals with disabilities. I didn't know this, but when my mom would have to go to work, she would let me stay with my aunt, and my aunt would take me to work with her, and she worked at a school, so it wasn't a big deal for a kid to be with other kids at that time. While there, I would work with the kids and play with the kids, and we would have arguments about Lassie being a girl or a boy, just general conversations that kids have when you're 5 and 6 years old. Once I got into high school, we had a program called the COPE program, and you go into an area that you think that you want to go into. At that time, I wasn't quite sure, but my aunt knew a teacher, a cooperating teacher, and she said that I could come to her classroom. So we worked it out through the high school, and I would go for half of the day. Once I was assigned to the school, which was my elementary school when I was in elementary, um, I was partnered with a little boy in a self-contained special education class named John Darius. His name, John Darius, JohnDarius. I spell his name for a reason. My job was to help John Darius write his name. Me in high school thinking, why the heck would you spell this kid's name so long? Why would you make his name John Darius? But hey, that's what his mother wanted his name to be. I was there for 6 weeks. Day Monday, Johnd. By the time we get to Friday, Johnd, go skip to Monday, he forgotten. He might have the J and the O. But we did this over and over and over again. I was thinking, this cannot possibly be the area that I'm supposed to go into because my God, this boy cannot spell his name. He can't retain it. I couldn't figure out what we needed to do. I was putting shaving cream on the desk and helping him write it with his fingers, everything. Well, before I left, the kids had a party. The teacher and the kids had a party for me, and they gave me a card, and he signed his name. And at that moment, I knew that that's being in special education is exactly what I was supposed to do.
Wow, and that's such a powerful story. And just hearing you talk about just putting the shaving cream on the desk and just going through those different tasks and just different ways of teaching him how to spell his name. And in the end, all that work you put in and all the work that you both put in to help him learn how to spell his name, it all paid off.
It did.
Absolutely. So that's great. So that was when you knew that's when you knew special education was your calling and you worked in that field and you got a chance to serve kids with special needs by being a special needs educator. So what was the most rewarding thing about your career?
Um, the most rewarding thing about my career as a teacher has been seeing the kids that I taught come back later to check on you as a teacher, or you see them in public and they're working and they have their own families. I was in the mall not long ago, and I came around the corner, and this guy called out my whole first and maiden name. And I was like, oh Lord. But when he got up on me, I recognized his face. He had just gotten older, but he still had the same face. And I said, you're gonna have to tell me your name. And he was like, Miss Bryant, you look exactly the same. I knew exactly who you were. I saw you walk and you walk the same. You look exactly the same. And I was like, oh God. He says, I'm married. I'm working here. I got a kid in high school, and I'm like, Lord have mercy. So I was those things like that make me excited that I was able to have a hand in his success.
Yes, ma'am. That's so awesome. That's so powerful. Like you said, like your students recognizing you years down the road and
Yes.
being able to just walk up on you and say, "Hey, you still look the same, still walk the same." And, hey, that's just a testament. Hey, they say black don't crack, so that's good. He
Right.
still recognize you.
Right, right.
Yes, ma'am. That's awesome stuff. So that's great just being able to pour into your students and your students going on to do great things, start
Hmm.
families and things of that nature. So whenever I have executive directors, founders of nonprofit organizations on the platform like yourself, I like to talk about three things: the aha moment, action, and audacity. Take us back to your aha moment when you first had the idea to take your love, your passion for special education, and turn it into this program.
Okay. In 2018, I want to say it was around January of 2018, I was the special ed facilitator for a local high school. And I realized that the kids were coming in to us from ninth grade, from eighth grade coming to ninth grade, and they weren't quite ready. But according to the law, a child with a disability can stay in school until they're 21. But the law has some, little quirks to it that makes it so that it doesn't read the way you think it reads. And so I reached out to the director of special education and I asked her if we could implement a program so that we could help these kids transition. That way, when they came in, if they weren't quite ready for the math, the algebra one, we could give them like a buffer or a cushion course before they go on to algebra one, just extending their school year, maybe 1 year. Well, she said that's not how the law is written. I was very frustrated by her telling me that's not how the law is written, and I started emailing her an ugly email. And I'm typing, and as I'm typing, I'm backing out. I'm typing, and I'm back and delete, 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 type, 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 delete, delete, delete. And as clearly as you and I are speaking right now, God said, "You do it." And I was like, "Do what, Lord?" You do it. Write the vision and make it plain. And I didn't know what that vision was, but within a month and a half, we had the name, which is STAAR, and it's an acronym. It stands for Social Skills, Transition, Academic Achievement, Readiness Program. By about a month later, I had the logo, and by June, we were doing our first transition enrichment camp.
That's what I'm talking about. So you got that word from God to, hey, you do it. Hey,
You do it, right?
other people weren't trying to help you out. They weren't trying to hear what you had to say. So God said, you got to write the vision, make it plain,
That's
and
it.
that's so awesome. And it's so great to just hear stories like these. Not only when God give you a message, but to be obedient and actually listen. Because you know how we do, Stacey. We hard headed. We don't
Yeah.
listen all the time.
Yeah, I get, yeah, I get. I'm
Well,
kind of hard headed still, but
oh, me too. Me too. Hey, I'm
okay.
trust me. I'm not judging you. I'm saying I definitely understand. Like when God gives you a message, sometimes you be like, "Hey, are you sure?" And
Are you
all.
sure? Are you sure? You're talking to me, Lord.
Yes,
Are you
man.
sure? Right.
Absolutely. So you had that message from God, and you acted on it, and that was gonna be my next question. How long the action portion? How long did it take you to get everything rolling? Sounds like you got right to it.
That part I did. I did get right to it for that. However, God also told me in January of 2024 that 2024 is it for me to teach. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm a single mama with two little girls. Well, they're big girls, but I'm still a single mama with two girls. And what this retirement check ain't gonna look like my every month check. Are you sure, Lord? Are you sure that I'm capable? And I kept hearing 2024 is time. And that could have meant June of 2024, August of 2024, or December of 2024. Whatever you wanted to be, it was 2024. And I retired in December 1 of 2024. And I couldn't understand. And this may lead into another one of your questions, but I couldn't understand why. I'd only been teaching 28 years. So why now? But considering the political climate, I understand exactly now. Why now? I understand exactly with the dissolving of DEI
Right.
and my and the special education Department of Special Education. There has to be something in place for these people with disabilities.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And I'm glad you
Mhm.
said it. I'm glad you just flat out said what it is. And that's great that you decided to be a solution to that, especially with
Mhm.
everything that's going on. All I can say
Yes.
is no matter who you vote for, the world is in an interesting place. I'll leave it
This
at
is yes, yes,
that.
yes.
So so that's great. So just in terms of having my next question is actually going to be just the audacity. So it's one thing to have an idea, it's another thing to act on it, but to put it out to the world to be praised or criticized, that's where the audacity comes in. And just hearing you talk and just hearing about your relationship with God sounds like God gave you that audacity to put the STAR program out to the world.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. I believe that I have faith. I know that I have faith, but every once in a while, it's like, wait a minute, are we sure? I would tell people, my friends, they would say, "Girl, just go on and jump," and I would say, I got my helmet on and I got my goggles on, and I'm looking over the edge, going, "Whoo, it's a long way down."
Right.
But I've got my parachute on and God is in control. So it's just a matter of jumping. But the first leap is always the scariest.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Always
Mhm.
the scariest. And that's great. You know, you got your audacity from God and you're willing to jump out there and leave behind a career of 28 years. And at the time when you got that message from God, it didn't make sense. But after you made the jump, now it makes sense. And see,
Mhm.
that's how it always works out, Stacey. See, it never makes
Yes.
sense in the moment, but until we take the first step, make the jump. If we don't make the jump, we'll never know what's on the other side.
Right. Right.
Yes, ma'am. So that's
So
great that you
we,
were able to make that jump. I know it was scary, like you said, like
oh, most definitely.
you had that steady paycheck coming in every month. You knew what that was
Yes.
gonna be every month, and then
Hmm.
to walk away from that and to step into this full time, that's faith.
Hmm.
Like that's evidence of things not seen, like the good book say. That's real faith,
Yes,
Stacey.
that's absolutely, you are absolutely right. And now I'm doing, we have a day program. So we have four different activities that we do, programs that we offer. But right now we've started our day program, which is kind of on the lines of a post-secondary option like college for kids with disabilities. We meet twice a week from 8 in the morning until 2:30 in the afternoon on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And on Tuesdays, we work on work, the things that they lost when from the time they left school until now, or that they just never held on to for whatever reason. We're working on money right now, and that counting of that money and how to figure out, well, if I've only got $10 and I need to buy this, what can I get? Making it make sense, putting everything in real life, because their parents, their loved ones won't be around forever. But are you prepared for life without them? So that I'm running that, and it's very eye-opening to see where they are and where we need them to be. But it's we run it for 10-week intervals 4 times a year. But this is our pilot right now from October to December. So I'm excited about that. I can see growth. We work on Tuesdays doing the academics, and on Thursdays, we go into the community and we give back. We've been to the Children's Center. We work with them because there's always someone out there less fortunate than us. We go to 2 and 5 ministries. We help box food up for people in need. And we'll be at the Wilson YMCA working on some cleaning skills, giving back to the community and learning some things that we may be able to take away, some transferable skills that we can take away to possibly get some jobs.
I think that's so amazing. Like just everything you were talking about, the day program that you all recently just got started, and I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just like you said, teaching those young men and women those essential life skills. Because I mean, the fact of the matter is, like you just said, hey, let's face it, mom and daddy won't be around forever, and
Right.
are you going to be able to sustain and maintain? Once you have to figure out and navigate this world, But so that's awesome that you have this program rocking and rolling and teaching those essential life skills and not just being the person saying we need more special needs program, but actually doing something
Mm-hmm.
about it. It's one thing to complain about the problem, but you're part of the solution, and I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So I got to ask you, just in terms of the organization's name itself, STAR, like it's amazing. The acronym is amazing. What was the inspiration behind naming it this?
So we wanted something that was an acronym. And we was like, well, TAPS. Well, this, something else. We had like 4 or 5 of them. And originally it was STAR with one A. But I was like, it's a lot of stars around here. But I think I wanted to have more than one A. So the academic achievement made 2 A's, and the star in the middle of the logo is an actual A. But I needed it to be based around transition, because in 2018, about 2015 through 2018, that was the buzzword: transition, transition, transition. Everybody was talking about transition. You're talking about it, but what are we doing about it? Are we getting these kids ready for life after high school? Because, if we're honest, we can look around town, we can look around Montgomery and see so many indigent people. How many of those people have special needs? And
Right.
they just weren't prepared for, maybe they didn't, maybe their medication isn't right, maybe they're not taking their medication. Okay, maybe so. But how many of them have disabilities and they weren't prepared to transition once their loved one either decided they didn't want to be bothered anymore, or passed away, or couldn't take care of them.
Hmm. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. That's so powerful, and just the inspiration behind the name, and like even putting the two A's in there. That was genius because, like I said, it makes it stands out. It's like the STAAR
Hmm.
program with two A's, so it's very eye catching. So I appreciate you for sharing the inspiration behind the name.
No problem.
Yes, ma'am. So as it relates to just the program itself, and I know you were saying, so I know you launched the program before the pandemic, and of course
Hmm.
in 2020 when everything popped off, everything shut down. We were
Hmm.
in the house quarantining. So I want to know, like, how did you all stay afloat during that time?
We prayed.
Yes, ma'am.
We struggled, and we struggled because I used to say before we went into the pandemic, it wouldn't teaching would be a lost profession soon because you don't need a teacher to teach them. You need the socialization. You need the social piece. And when we went into the pandemic, we learned that it could be done on the computer. So we didn't need the physical body of the teacher to be in front of the kids. But what I learned was kids with disabilities needed that socialization. They needed that interaction. So we would do a lot of things online. Like we did a scavenger hunt online. We did a virtual voters tutorial to help them not to tell them who to vote for, but to understand what each person stood for and what each amendment, because the amendments get everybody, they get me too, what the amendments stood for so that they could understand when they went to vote because they can vote. You're old enough to vote. You need to go ahead and exercise that right. So it's just, that pandemic was hard on us, but we wanted to make sure that our kids had some sort of connection. But once we came out of the pandemic, it was difficult as well because so many people were passing away from COVID that the parents didn't want their kids to interact. So they would keep them away. They may bring them out to a date night just to see and then leave, not allowing them to stay and interact. But I can't work on your social skills if I can't get to you, work with you. So 2020 was rough.
Wow, and I can only imagine just hearing you talk about that, and I can only imagine just how tough it was, like not being able to like physically be in the presence of your
Hmm.
students and being able to educate them and pour into them, and so I definitely appreciate you for being transparent and just sharing that. I mean, it was a challenging time, but eventually things got back to some sense of normalcy, and
Yes,
but you all stayed afloat in the
we
midst of it
did.
all, the
We
challenges, the
did.
adversities, and that's what it's all about, just being able to weather the storms.
Hmm. Yes, we did. We stayed afloat. We kept in contact. We lost a few kids, not to death or anything, but lost a few like participants. But we gained a few. We started with 8 in 2018, and then at the end of 2024, we had touched over 88 families. So we're growing.
Hmm. Yes,
That's
ma'am.
good. Hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Just
Yep.
evolving, growing, and weathering the storm. So
Hmm.
that's amazing stuff. So let me ask you this. When you got ready to make that transition out of the education career into doing this full time, did any of your coworkers knew what you were about to embark on? Did you just keep it to yourself?
Well, yeah, they knew. I believe in being transparent
Right.
because I want people to I want my character to speak for itself. I want to have integrity. So I wanted to make sure that like my supervisors knew that hey, there's a strong possibility that I could be leaving this year. Um and with that, I was actually able to contract back and help the person who replaced me. So yeah, my coworkers did know. The ones who I was close enough to that would be directly affected by my move, I made sure that they knew so that they could have whatever they needed to have in place. Is anything they needed to get from me or I needed to do, I wanted to make sure that it was done before I left. I didn't want to have to come back and try to find or sift through anything. So yeah, I operated in integrity.
Yes, ma'am. That's awesome stuff, and that's the way to do it. Operating
Hmm.
integrity and just being willing to transfer all the information and resources you had to whomever would be stepping into that spot. And I mean, Also, it just speaks to your character again, like being a person that don't burn bridges. Because it'd been very easy to just say, you know what, I'm retiring, I'm out, y'all figure it out. But you never want to burn
Yes.
bridges. You just never want to
No.
burn bridges.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. Because also too, once the kids leave the schools, they don't have anywhere to go. So keep that bridge open, then they can cross the bridge and come on over to the STAR program.
There you go. There you go. That's exactly, hey, that's how you do it. Exactly.
Mhm.
So that's amazing. So that you was able to make that transition from an educator into doing this full time. And you've done great things with the organization. I know great things are coming down the pipeline, which leads to my next portion, vision. What are some of your short term and long term goals for the organization you feel comfortable sharing?
um Short-term goals, once we get past this first 10-week session of the Odyssey Day program, I want it to be ongoing, 4 times a year, so 4 quarters in 10-week sessions, and I want to be able to see significant growth in each one of my participants, whether it's they were able to differentiate between a nickel and a quarter. If they weren't before we started, I want them to be able to do it, before they leave. Um, that would be a short-term goal, like I guess. Long-term goals, it would be to, well, always to add more people who would benefit. Because as much as I would love to say that the STAR program is for everybody, it's not. And I'm finally okay with that. But to be able to our tribe, add to our tribe, the people who should be a part of the STAR program, who will gain from the STAR program, who will be able to get the job readiness piece and get those jobs, to be able to do the socialization piece and be able to make friends, because that's important. Um, and the daily living skills. Long-term goals. I've got some big things down the pipeline, but I don't want to jinx them just yet, so I can't tell.
Okay. Hey, I definitely understand that. Hey, you got some big things coming down the pipeline long term, and just hearing you talk about your short term goals and all the things you got cooking up. I have no doubt whatever you touch to turn to gold, and it'll be a huge success.
Amen.
Yes, ma'am. So as we wrap up the podcast, I want to ask the $1 million question. I started this podcast because I wanted to highlight the greatness connected to the city of Montgomery. Whether you were born here or lived here for a significant period of your life, be it college, military, or work, you coming to Montgomery to attend and graduate from college. I got to ask you, and now you currently operating this organization, the STAR program. I got to ask you, Stacy, what do you appreciate the most about the city of Montgomery?
I appreciate the most about the city of Montgomery the history. It's so much rich history embedded in Montgomery. Um, I think that's the most thing that I appreciate. I appreciate the camaraderie, meeting new people, but those things kind of fade. But the history is there. The history sticks.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Very rich history. Very rich. So, Stacy, how can the people connect with you? What are your social media handles and website?
All right. So we are on Facebook and Instagram at STAAR underscore program. Um, our website, www.today, TODAYSTAARS.org. Phone number 334-440-6538.
Too easy. And of course, I'll put all of that information in the description of the episode. Hey, Stacy, thanks again for the conversation. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I got one last thing to say.
Yes, ma'am.
STAR, when we show up, the world gets a little bit brighter.
And there you have it, good people. Good people, that concludes another dope episode of the Gumptown Podcast. In the meantime, in between time, y'all know what to do. Be blessed, be safe, but most importantly, have the audacity to be you. Go on.